We had a good record, and so to us we were the best team there was. She was competitive and usually happy, but she was upset at the loss that day. It was very hard for us to accept that we had lost that big game that day.
Asha Degree was born on August 5th, 1990 to Harold and Paquin Degree, also known as Aquila, in the rural town of Shelby, North Carolina. By February 2000, Asha stood 4'6" and weighed 60 pounds. She wore her hair in a mix of styles, progressing from little ponytails with barrettes clamped to the ends to braids and one low back ponytail. As a fourth grader at Falston Elementary, she shared an inseparable bond with her brother, O'Brien Degree, who was just 11 months older than her, and what many may call Irish twins. O'Brien attended 5th grade also at Falston Elementary. According to their mother, Asha and O'Brien were thick as thieves, with Asha wanting to do everything her brother did. Asha's parents described her as quiet, timid, and shy, while her school principal, Steve Borders, knew her as both an honors student who excelled in math and science and loved to read and write, and an outstanding student with no behavioral issues. Her dedication to education showed through her near-perfect attendance record, missing only one day that entire school year. She was regularly awarded Student of the Week and visited the treasure chest for rewards pretty often in her classroom. Her mom also reported that although she may not have been as interested in television, she did enjoy watching Rugrats at home. Her parents' marriage was also approaching a milestone that week, as they were just 3 days away from celebrating their 12th wedding anniversary on Valentine's Day. The Degree family resided at 3404 Oakcrest Street in a small 2-bedroom duplex-style home that measured approximately 1,100 square feet. Within these walls, Asha and O'Brien shared a bedroom. Their neighborhood consisted of similar duplex and ranch-style homes, creating a close-knit community atmosphere. Each morning, beginning at around 6:10 a.m., the siblings would prepare for school and board the school bus to and from school together, with O'Brien often holding his sister's hand as he walked her to class. Cleveland County was no stranger to winter's grip, having already weathered its first cold snap of the season. Just a month earlier, a winter storm had swept through the area, bringing a dangerous mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain that threatened power lines and made roads treacherous. By Friday, February 11th, the weather had moderated, though the day remained mostly cloudy with showers threatening to arrive in the afternoon or evening. On Friday, February 11th, the temperature climbed to a mild 68 degrees during daylight hours before dropping sharply to 44 degrees after sunset. With schools closed for a staff holiday, Asha and O'Brien were babysat by their cousin Keisha, who was 20 years old at the time, who also lived across the street in the same subdivision while their parents worked. Aquila at Kauai American Manufacturing in Lincolnton on the first shift, and Harold as a dock loader at PPG Industries in Shelby. Though Harold typically worked second shift, he had switched to first shift for both Thursday and Friday that week. As we previously noted in episode 1, Oakcrest Street was home not only to Asha's close friend and classmate, Stoney Maddox, but also to a significant portion of her extended family. According to the Charlotte Observer, the Degree family in the year 2000 was extensive and interconnected throughout the neighborhood. Let's break it down. In a small southern town like Shelby, family ties often run deep and close, and nowhere was this more evident than on Oakcrest Street. Let's take a walk down this street and meet the Degree family members who called it home. First, there's Josie Degree, who's Asha's paternal grandmother. Across the street, you'd find Glenda Degree, Asha's aunt, who shared her home with her 2 daughters, Keisha and 15-year-old Katina, who lived near Moe's Memorial Baptist Church. Just a few steps away, also across the street, lived Carol and Winter Degree, another aunt and uncle of Asha's, along with their two children, 12-year-old Autumn, who everyone knew as Chanel, and her 11-year-old sister, Summer. But that's not all. The street was dotted with even more Degree family members. There was Aunt Betty, Uncle Leroy, and Aunt Gladys Degree, who also made her home just down the street. And this only scratches the surface of the Degree family presence on Oakcrest Street. Beyond this family circle, there were second or third cousins, along with numerous playmates who were treated like family. The street wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a close-knit community where the Degrees had planted deep roots. This family connection was evident in their traditions, such as their Labor Day trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the previous year, where the extended family had vacationed together. Later that Friday, both Asha and O'Brien attended basketball practice, preparing for their upcoming Fallston Pee Wee basketball games as part of the Upper Cleveland Pee Wee League. The Degree siblings were accomplished young athletes. Both excelled in baseball and basketball, with O'Brien also playing football. Asha had earned her position as pitcher on the baseball team and was set to transition to softball that spring. She displayed talent reminiscent of the first girl to pitch a shutout and win a game in Little League World Series history, and the 2014 Sports Illustrated Sports Kids of the Year, Monet Davis, years before Davis would ever become a household name.
One time, my mom was like, "Here's the phone, someone wants to talk to you." So I answer it, and he's like, "Hi, Monet, this is Kobe Bryant." And I was like, hi. And he was just saying, like, how inspiring it was to watch me and how cool it was. I was pitching against the guys, and I was just sitting there smiling and didn't have any words. After all of this, I've learned how to have more fun while playing sports. Not just for myself, but for everyone else. For people to come up to me saying that I inspired them, it just kind of made me want to become a better player and a better person.
Despite being in her first year of organized competition, Asha, who averaged 4 to 6 points a game, had already established herself as a starting point guard and star player. Both siblings proudly wore number 45. O'Brien chose it in admiration of Michael Jordan, a number he initially wore while playing for his high school baseball team at Laney High. Asha had also selected the number to match her brother. Athletics was deeply woven into the fabric of the Degree family's competitive spirit. Coach Chad Wilson, who led the team alongside Coach Sherry Earl, reported Friday's practice went smoothly. Asha was her usual fun-filled self, Wilson noted. She had a good practice. Saturday, February 12th, arrived with challenging weather. The forecast warned of blustery conditions and possible showers, with temperatures reaching only 58 degrees before dropping to 45 degrees at night, creating a chilly, windy atmosphere that persisted through the evening. At Burns Middle School, the day's events unfolded with the Fallston Bulldogs girls team playing first. The game proved difficult for Asha, who took to the court with her hair pulled back in a low, slicked ponytail. Following an aggressive play from an opponent that went uncalled by the referee, her frustration mounted. She struggled to maintain focus, made several errors, and in the game's final minutes, fouled out, or as commonly known, was ejected from the game. Asha stomped off the court, and when the team lost by a single point, she joined her teammates in tears. Though she complained of leg pain, her mother dismissed the concern, encouraging her to walk it off. Asha's recovery was swift, and she soon rejoined her teammates in play. Coach Wilson observed her resilience. Just a few minutes later, she was up smiling and joking and having a good time. I sat behind her for part of the boys' game and tossed a towel over her head and joked with her. She didn't show any behavior or say anything that led me to believe she was unhappy. We joked like we normally do, and she was very happy when sitting with her mother. Asha and Aquila both watched O'Brien's game together before the family headed home. According to Asha's teammates from her basketball team, there had also been a Valentine's Day gathering after their basketball game. During this get-together, Asha and the other girls were given Valentine's Day candy in treat bags. It is noted that later in the spring, the Fallston Bulldogs would go on to win both regular season and tournament championships in the Upper Cleveland Pee Wee Girls League. Saturday evening continued with a slumber party at the home of their Aunt Glenda Degree and cousins Keisha and 15-year-old Katina. The Charlotte Observer reported a dozen cousins in attendance. Though this number could have been an exaggeration, considering this was a small two-bedroom home. As was common in small towns, such gatherings often saw children making pallets on living room or den floors. Whether the sleepover marked a birthday celebration or simply offered parents a night out before Valentine's Day remains unclear, as does O'Brien's attendance. Asha and her cousins stayed awake watching television, first enjoying Showtime at the Apollo, hosted by Teddy Carpenter and featuring Carl Thomas
Tonight
at 11 p.m.
At the Apollo, Carl Thomas, comedian Rob Stapleton, Amateur Night, and Apollo Kids, all on It's Showtime at the Apollo. Starring Teddy Carpenter, Kiki Shepard, C.B. Lacey, and Ray Jew and the crew. Tonight's show is dedicated to comedian Dewey Pigmeat Markham, an Apollo legend. And now, Apollo, put your hands together for tonight's guest, Carl Thomas!
Followed by Soul Train at midnight.
Soul Train, the longest-running, first-run, nationally syndicated program in television history, and the hippest strip in America.
The group had fun mimicking the dancers on Soul Train, pretending they too were part of the show's famous dance line. This particular episode, hosted by Shamar Moore, showcased performances by Cisco and Sammy, likely ending around 1 a.m. The next morning would find the family at Missionary Macedonia Baptist Church in Waco for the 9:30 a.m. service. Curiously, the sleepover mentioned in early news reports and the initial investigation would later disappear from the timeline of events altogether for reasons unknown. It remains one of the many unclear details surrounding that weekend. Thank you for listening to this episode of Cleveland County Valentine. If you haven't already, please like and follow us on Facebook or leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I would also like to encourage anyone who knows anything at all about Asha's disappearance to come forward and share what you know. I want this podcast to be an outlet for people surrounding this case. Have yourself a great rest of the week and join us next time for a new episode of Cleveland County Valentine.